Okay, so this is so exciting. I have never filmed a YouTube video before, but here we are. So let's get right into it. I am going to be telling you all about my October TBR list, even though it is halfway through October already. But it's okay, I already finished one. Since it's spooky month, I decided to curate my list a little bit more towards things with spooky vibes, as if I don't do that year round. But the first book that was on my TBR that I did actually already finish is Coraline. I read this one in almost one sitting, and it was incredible. This is a TBR, not a review, but I'm going to talk about it for just a second. I have read a couple of other Neil Gaiman's books, and I absolutely love it. Like, his writing, it's kind of like coming home to me. I love everything about it. The prose, the dialogue, it's so witty, it's funny.
Everybody turning into Bouillabaisse. 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 Wait, fish stew.
There's like an itch in my brain. His writing scratches it. Like, I can't really think of anything else to say. And this book in particular, I decided to pick up because I heard that it was even more unsettling than the animated movie. I think Henry Selick did it. Everyone thinks it's Tim Burton, but it's not. But I mean, that messed me up when I was younger.
What's up, Corny?
I've been traumatized.
So I had to get a copy. And another reason that I decided to pick up this book is because I really needed something kind of lighter to read after finishing Sadie by Courtney Summers. This book ruined me. It was, oh, what to say about this book? It was a tough read. It was hard. It was good. It was suspenseful. It made me cry. It deals with a lot of heavy subjects. And I really needed something that I could just kind of sit down and massage my brain with. And for me, that definitely meant Neil Gaiman's writing. And it meant something, I think, maybe meant for children. I could do an entire video on why it's important that this is a children's book, even though it is a deeply unsettling book. But kids need that sometimes, and I'm happy to do another video all about that and why I think it's important for kids to have horror in their lives from a young age in an appropriate way. Because no, I won't get into it. I won't get into it. That's a whole other video. Anyway, next on my TBR list, Pan's Labyrinth. Okay, so a horror writer that absolutely has my heart is Guillermo del Toro. And I have loved this movie for a really long time. It is an absolutely beautiful, vicious movie that is also just deeply unsettling. In a way, there's two storylines going on in the movie. You have the storyline that is following the adults and the adult narrative that has to do with the war, the time period, the abusive marriage. Like, it's a whole thing. The fear and sort of espionage. And then you have the story that actually follows our child protagonist. She is living in a completely different world, essentially. And she's the one that deals with all of the magic and all of the creatures and things like that. And another reason I picked up this book is because, I mean, it's gorgeous. Look at it. It was written by Cornelia Funke, who is one of my favorite authors. She's my childhood. Dragon Rider, The Thief Lord, those were all books that were really important to me when I was in elementary school. So seeing her write horror is going to be a completely new experience, but I'm looking forward to it so much. But there's also these absolutely gorgeous illustrations, which in the end were kind of what made me decide to pick up this copy, because it is a novelization of a movie, which I typically don't really get into. But I mean, look at this. Like, I don't know if the camera is going to focus on that, but it's so pretty. Like, all of the art style, the monsters that of course were created, and no, if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it. This is my favorite monster though. There's so many reasons I want to read this. And in a way, I feel like it's a great way to transition from Coraline because it is another very youthful protagonist that has to do with a story that when you're reading it as an adult takes on quite a few different meanings in a way. The only major difference is, yes, this story is about a child. I would not read this to your children. This one was not meant for children for sure. So that is my next TBR. After that, I plan to crack open this. This is Overexposed. Wow. This is a book by Kat Ellis. She recently, last year, she came out with Harrow Lake, which I enjoyed absolutely to pieces. It was incredible. A ride that I did not expect. I kind of expected it to be one of those horror books that you just kind of pick up, you read, and then you forget about it, you know? No, that book stayed with me for a while. So when she came out with this one, I figured I had to go get it. Summary kind of really grabbed me. It has everything from ghosts, it has a murder, it has what looks like is going to be a very suspenseful setup of both location and characters. So this, I am honestly looking forward to, is just a good old-fashioned scare me, keep me on the edge of my seat type of thing, which is perfect for October. Okay, this one, I was keeping tabs on this for months before it came out. I went and picked it up the day it got to Barnes & Noble's, and I am so excited. The Girls Are Never Gone by Sarah Glenn Marsh. The summary, I didn't have a chance. I absolutely didn't have a chance. It was described as a mix between Sadie, which I loved, and The Conjuring, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. But wait, there's more. There's also a sapphic romance in this story. So it's kind of like if there was a checklist of my perfect book, Sarah Glenn Marsh, you've done it. But I mean, that does also make me a little bit nervous because I do have incredibly high expectations for this book. And if I get let down, I'm not going to take it well. But I'm really excited to read it and just kind of hold on for the ride. It seems creepy. It seems a mashup of genres that I really enjoy. It seems like it's got some really compelling characters. The cover is so fun. I cannot think of anything else to ask for or be excited for that this book doesn't already have. The last book on my October TBR, I actually don't have with me, so I will go ahead and put it up on the screen here. It is trapped in my friend's car because I was reading it at her apartment and then I left it there. So I do plan on picking it up or having her drop it off to me, whichever we can figure out. And I want to read it before the end of October, but we're both busy adults. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That one, to tell you a little bit about it, it is also marketed as having a sapphic romance, which, say less, like I'm a simple woman. I see that there's a sapphic romance. I purchased the book. Like, there is not enough representation for it, and there definitely wasn't when I was in high school. So finding out that there are genres and protagonists that are going to be in stories and tell stories that I never had, you know, growing up, and, you know, seeing them now, it's so important to me. What's that TikTok audio? It is, I am obsessed with it. And I think it's okay. It's an obsession that doesn't hurt anybody. That's me. That one is called The Dead and the Dark. It is about two girls in a very, very small town in Oregon. One of them has just recently moved there with her dads. Her dads are absolutely adorable so far. I'm only about 3 or 4 chapters in. One of them is very grumpy and doesn't do well with his emotions, and the other is just such a sweetheart. Oh my gosh, I love him so much. And so I really want to see everything work out for all of them, but it's a horror book, so I know that that's not necessarily going to happen, and it will hurt, but that's okay. Isn't that why we read? With my TBR for October, I chose the books that I chose for a couple of different reasons. One is I have a limited amount of time, so I only picked about 6 books to read, hoping that I could get one, maybe 1.5, 1 or 2 a week. For me, at this point in my life, with how busy I am, that's kind of a lofty goal. Like, I know that there are other YouTubers or book talkers out there that can read a book a day, or they'll do 3 or 4 books a week, and I absolutely applaud and praise them because I'm afraid of them. For me, I'm gonna stick with my reading when I can schedule, and hopefully if I get some more time, maybe I can start reading more. That would be wonderful. That's actually a goal that I have. But as for right now, my 6 books are where they are. But that being said, since I could only pick 6 for this month, I'm incredibly picky. And that's just in general, honestly, not when I only have a certain amount of books that I'm planning to read in a time frame. I am just so picky. And it's unfortunate because horror is my favorite genre, and it's probably the genre that I am the most picky about. For every 10 horror books that I find online or pick up at Barnes & Noble's, one of them makes it onto my, I'll look into more about this list. And then from that list, usually about every 1 in 5 actually ends up on my shelf or on my TBR. And horror in particular has a really bad habit of setting up characters that I just really don't want to care about. How many times have I picked up a book and been like, okay, this plot looks incredible, the monster sounds scary, or the setting sounds absolutely eerie, and then I will crack it open and read the first few pages and realize that the main character's entire personality is being a middle-aged man who drinks whiskey for breakfast and has a cigarette for lunch, and has he told you that he hates his wife yet? I don't want to read about that. I don't. Maybe that was popular in generations before us with certain types of westerns or detective stories, but I'm sorry, I just am not, I am not its target audience. I'll put it that way. If someone wants to read protagonists like that or stories involving characters like that, that's great. I'm glad they're there for you, but it's not something I'm going to pick up. Actually, that's something that I would really love to hear from you guys. If you have a movie or a book that is just objectively bad, but you really love it, I would love to know what that is. And alternately, if you have a book or movie that you have either read or at least heard about that's super popular, or maybe objectively good from a technical writing standpoint or something, but you hate it, I would also really like to know about that, because I think it's so fun. We should be able to say, this is good, I don't like it. This is bad, I love it. We should be able to say that, because it's way more fun to intake media that way. So please let me know. Another reason that I typically won't pick up a horror book is there is such a balance that needs to be had in horror writing. In that way, I think horror movies are much more easy to get into than horror books are, because horror is a genre that absolutely thrives through description and imagery and things like that. And so there has to be this very precise balance, because if your prose get too heavy, I get bored. But if you don't have a writing style that encourages me to care about the setting or care about the characters, then I've lost interest. It's so difficult. And I respect horror writers so much, because I do believe they are writing one of the most difficult genres out there to write. A lot of it, I think shock value is used a lot in a lot of horror. And it just is so cheap to me. If I wanted to see just blood and viscera splattered on the walls for no reason, I'm gonna watch a slasher movie, and I'm not gonna do it because it's good. I'm gonna do it because it's fun. There is such a difference between flash horror and gore and things like that, and actual body horror. I will say that. Guillermo del Toro does body horror, and I love it so much. One of my favorite movies of all time, Crimson Peak. Because the monsters in this movie are absolutely disturbing in so many ways, but it's possible to see a ghost with an axe splitting her head open and have the axe be the part of her design that is somehow the least interesting. Body horror means something. It's supposed to make you feel something. So that is my spiel on body horror and why I'm picky about horror as a genre. So anyway, yes, that is my October TBR. That is what I plan to be reading. I'm so excited. I don't know if I'll finish them all. I really hope reading doesn't get put on the back burner because I am so excited for all of these books that I have and have been looking forward to reading for so long. There were a couple of other books that didn't make it onto my TBR. I did find House of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. I am excited about that one. The Devil in the White City, the book about H.H. Holmes, I picked up a copy of that, which I'm pretty excited. That one's, I know, it's old news, but I'm interested in H.H. Holmes, sue me. Oh, there's a novelization actually of Crimson Peak that I found out about recently, which is currently on my Amazon wish list that probably will get mysteriously paid for and shipped to my door. I don't know, it just happens sometimes. But obviously that's not going to be on my October TBR because it's halfway through October already. So definitely I will be continuing some spooky reads throughout the end of the year. So stay tuned if you want to hear more about those. If you would like to find me outside of YouTube, my Instagram is here. I do love to post there more than any other social media platform just because it's kind of where I'm at and where my friends are at. It's not a book Instagram yet, but I'm thinking about trying that out. I do follow quite a few very fun bookstagrammers who always make sure my wish list and my TBR are well padded. I can go ahead and link them down below as well, so you can give them a follow. But yeah, I love making new friends. I'm super excited to make more videos, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!